See? Okay, Jim.
Yes.
You said last time you were going to retire the hat. Now, I still see it on the desk. Did you go buy one yet?
I can't get what I want.
Well, then take what you have. We went and got this hat.
But I don't like this hat. I want you to wear it.
You want me to? I'll wear the hat.
I want you to wear it.
But nobody can see me.
Because I look goofy in hats.
See, I look good in a hat.
It's your hat.
Okay, but nobody can see me no one can see my great looks in this hat. It becomes pointless.
You know what I wish I could do?
What?
Matter of fact, I'm going to do this week.
Okay, we're going to hold you to it.
I'm going to do this week, Colt.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to look through my boxes and boxes of slides.
What, slides?
Slides. Now, for those of you that are under
me.
40 and don't know what a slide is,
I don't know.
that's what photographs used to be.
They used to be called slides.
They used to be called slides.
Okay.
And they came in little boxes. They were square like that, about an inch and a half by an inch and a half, and inside was the negative, which in a slides case, it's a positive.
Okay.
Because when you show it, it shows all the colors.
That doesn't make any sense. But continue.
It shows it like you're looking at a photograph.
Okay, sure.
Okay? Mm-hmm. And when I used to speak a lot, I used slides at one time.
And you wore your hat in the slides?
No.
Okay.
When I went to Kokanee Glacier, where I got the nickname Jungle Jim, and I wore this hat the first time, and Mike Culver called me Jungle Jim. And that's where the connection comes to the hat.
Right.
And if I had one of those hats, now the problem is, it was made then out of styrofoam. And now
how does that just fall apart?
Because styrofoam is like you're ruining the environment. So you can't wear styrofoam. Right. So I've been trying to find one that comes to as close to looking like the one I had.
Right.
And my mother bought it for me.
Right.
So it means a lot to me. And it kept the sun off my head. Mm-hmm. And it kept me from getting sunburned.
What happened to this infamous hat? Is it framed in a museum somewhere?
I made some of my campers mad one day.
Oh, when you were training them all?
Because I challenged them. No, I wasn't training them. I was only 13 at the time.
Oh, you were at the camp.
Yeah, I was at the Kokanee Glacier camp.
Got it.
And somebody thought it would be funny to stomp on it.
Oh.
And because it was styrofoam, it broke into a million pieces.
Right. How does it even make any sense? Like, you could sneeze on it and it would break. Like styrofoam.
Not this one.
Styrofoam isn't very durable, man.
I know.
Okay. Anyways, enough about styrofoam hats. We'll see. So you said this week you're going to get one. You said you said you were going to do something this week.
If I can find one that is just like it.
If I can find one.
But what I said I was going to do. No, just a second. What I said I was going to do was I'm going to go through my slide boxes and I'm going to see if I can find the photograph, because there is one of me wearing it at Kokanee Glacier.
Okay.
And you would see me at 13 with a styrofoam hat on.
Okay.
When the nickname started.
Right. And if you find it, we'll put it in the extended material. So
exactly.
Mm-hmm, exactly. Okay, confidence today. We're talking about myths.
We are going to continue.
You have so many myths.
I don't have them. It's just that people write me and tell me that they have questions and they say it's a myth that, people just have confidence naturally.
Okay.
And let's start this officially. You're with Jungle Jim Hunter in the jungle. Mm-hmm. And we teach what we're teaching here to people that want to know. I want to tell you a outstanding outcome that came from one of my athletes. Just happened this week.
Oh, cool.
I've mentioned this young fellow before, Caleb Popko, who is an Irish dancer, who was one of the athletes that I trained in the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. I worked with him for 18 months, and he just finished second in the world.
In Irish dancing?
In Irish dancing.
That's cool.
In Ireland. And no Canadian has ever done that before. No That's Canadian has ever finished. He went, the first year he was 10th, the second year he was 6th, this year he was second.
Wow.
And he's one of our graduates. And it's interesting because one of the things that I had to teach him was he was very confident about his dancing, but when he got in a competition, the pressure was on, which is what confidence is all about. What confidence reveals is that he would find himself not being able to perform the way he could in practice, the way he did in training.
Right.
And so because of that, he was excited to say, I need some help. I want somebody to help me. I want you to help me get over this so that I can do this. And so that's why we're dealing with these misconceptions. The first one that we talked about last week was you either have it or you don't have it. And we've dealt with that in the last episode.
We've concluded that I have swagger and that I have it.
We've concluded that you have it, but when you're put under pressure, you turn into a jam tart.
Okay. Thanks about that.
I just, just because I love you.
Right.
I care. I really care.
I'm sure you'll have more words for me today about my confidence this time. So what's the myth?
What I want to do today is I want to take you through the process. Mm-hmm. And I would like to do this very quickly. I'm not going to try and dwell on any of this, but I want to take you through the process of what we actually know and what we are taught to learn how to have confidence, because everybody needs it and everybody wants it, especially if they're trying to achieve something in life.
Right.
And so in review, in the you have confidence or you don't, what we talked about is that every person has a natural bent towards something that inspires them from the heart, right from the time you're born.
Right.
And from the age of 0 to 7, it's crucial that parents discover that.
Right. Like for me, it was bench pressing 225. That's
the
strive of my life.
Right from the get-go. At 4,
from the high
you
chair.
were barbell. You were lifting barbells already. But the reason why that's crucial is 74 to 76% of your psychological makeup is developed by the age of 7. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't know that. And 16 more % is developed between the age of 7 and 14. And we actually go through 7-year cycles because our body completely changes all of the cells in our body every 7 years.
Right.
And that changes the way we respond to things. And if you think about the changes that happen in the second cycle, you go from being a kid to going through puberty.
Right.
And so all of these things work together to develop the way you're going to grow and develop as a human being. So finding that focus as young as possible is indicated in childhood play.
Okay.
And you can see whether a child is confident or not and what they're confident at, because it reveals their personality, their bents, and their likes. Because when a child falls into what we call in the zone, like a great athlete or a great performer, they get lost in it. And they no longer have to think about it. They're no longer going, what am I going to do next? You see a child playing with their teddy bears and lining them up and saying, we're going to take on the giant. Or you see a young girl with a tea party and she's got the cup and the tea and she's telling what everybody's saying and what they're thinking. And you suddenly can see from the kinds of things that they get lost in. Some get lost in reading. Some become somebody that reads. So what are they reading? So as a parent, you can discover what your child is probably bent towards, what their personality is like, and where they're in the zone. And when they're in that zone, it's a great opportunity as a parent to talk to them after they come out of it and say, so what were you doing? Having fun? Yeah. What were you talking about? And they will tell you, and they will reveal to you what's really going on inside their head. And it's a place that you can learn this. We teach this in a program called Finding Your Flame. And that's for another time, but we teach it there. And we teach, however, that you have to discover what their core is. Now, the core is your character, your order, your reliability, and your execution. CORE. And what is it that you, in your internal development of you at the core of who you are? You've heard me often talk about seeds. The seed has everything it needs to become an apple tree.
Right.
It has everything it needs to become a crop of wheat seeds and develop more wheat. The apple produces more apples. Human beings have that, but we're different in the fact that we get to choose. Right. We choose what we want to know, what we want to learn,
seeds
how
just
we want to do it,
man.
And seeds just have it. They literally have the confidence.
We're not very smart. We got to figure it out.
Yeah, but it makes it so that we have the freedom to choose, and it gives us something that is so cool. Because
like no seed can just pick to want to go bench 225.
It can't bench 225. It also can't decide that it wants to become a ski racer.
Right, it's true.
It is what it is. And that's the beauty of it. And that's the beauty of human beings. So Getting your act together is learning how to operate based on your core with the facts and faith. But there's this nasty guy called feelings. And I say nasty because feelings want what they want, and they are the hardest things to train.
Feelings.
They want to go where they want to go. When they're hungry, they want it. I've used the illustration before that you give them a scoop of ice cream, and guess what? You're never going to get them to eat spinach again. Because once they get ice cream,
they want that instead. They want the good stuff.
I want the good stuff. I don't want that. And so that affects us because it develops our emotional response to life. And our emotional response takes us where it wants to go unless we train it.
We're like training the muscle that says, I want ice cream.
Absolutely. And it's easy to say that you either have it or you don't have it. But when you come to the realization that it's going to take work, this is where everybody starts to stumble. This is where people have a challenge. And here at the Sportology Institute, we teach this, that when you come to the clover leaf of life, in other words, you're going along the road and you have a challenge, and all of a sudden you've got to overcome this challenge because it's in the way, you have to get off the road for a while. And you have to face the challenges, and you have to deconstruct what is wrong in what you believe, because it usually is facing you with the reality that you have a wrong belief about something or the way you see things. And you have to reconstruct on this side, underground. This is above ground. This is below ground. You have to reconstruct.
Quite the complex analogy.
Exactly. And as a result, you're transformed. And when you come off through the transformation, you can get back on the road.
So you basically do a bunch of loops.
So you do a bunch of loops, you get back on the road of life, and you start to develop a first response. And the earlier you do that for a child, the better it is. Now, the problem is most parents don't want to get that intense. But the sooner you do it for a child, and they learn self-discipline, and they learn self-growth, and they learn self-focus, it enhances their self-image. And because it enhances their self-image and their self-confidence, all of a sudden, they're confident in what they can do. I've told you this before. By the age I was 12, I could do everything my dad could do. I could weld, I could acetylene, I could drive the tractor, I could drive the combine. I mean, I could fix things. It didn't matter what it was. I could do what he had taught me by 12 years of age. And it made me so confident that I was really never at a place where I was going, wow, how would I do that? What would I do there?
Because you just knew that you knew your stuff. Farmer Boy Jim.
I had just done it. That's all.
Right.
So you can apply this to everything you do, to your first steps, the first words, the first time you write. You can apply these same principles the way you do. And therefore, confident people, and this is the summary of the first one, live by a commitment to consistently develop constructive thinking processes through learning, solidifying, and successful experiences.
Okay, explain it in words so that I would understand.
Simple.
Okay, simple.
They make a commitment.
Who was they?
Anybody that wants to be confident.
So me, I make a commitment.
You make a commitment. I'm going to use you as an example. I know you don't like this, but I'm going to use it.
Let's do it.
You make a commitment to bench press 225. Yep. You consistently go. In other words, you ask Jim for a program that you are going to follow. You don't ask him for one and then you're not going to follow it.
I'm supposed to weigh 175 pounds right now. I'm a little behind.
And you develop a constructive thinking process through which you are learning what you know and what you don't know, what you can do, what you can't do.
Right.
And then you solidify that by affirming it and what you've accomplished and where you are because of successful experiences.
Right.
And successful doesn't mean that you actually reach the goal. It means that you push through the struggle to get to the goal, because that's the real meaning of success.
Right.
The real meaning of success is not to be number one or to be first or to be the best. The real meaning of success, and this is how you know your child is growing.
I don't have a child, Jim.
This is how
I hope I don't.
Cole,
Never mind.
Cole, this is how you know you're growing. Because,
hey! Don't call me a child.
Okay, I'll rephrase it again. Cole, this is how you know you are actually maturing and growing, because you push through the things that stopped you before. Remember, everybody has the potential to be confident, but if you don't push through the work,
Right.
you can't do it. If you don't push through lifting 160 to 165 to 170 to 175, you can't ever push 225.
It's true.
It's that simple. So that leads us to the second of the myths. And the second one is only positive feedback builds confidence. Only positive feedback builds confidence. We have a tendency to think that the only reason we have kids that are successful and kids that will be successful and why kids are successful is because if we just say, you're special, you're wonderful, you're marvelous, you're incredible, no matter what they do, whether they get an A or a D. Well, I guess they don't give out D's anymore, but they round it off and give everybody a pass, that somehow they're going to become confident.
Right.
Doesn't work that way. That's a myth. And so today I want to talk to you about why this is so and give you a real understanding. You see, let me ask you a question, Cole, and think about this.
Okay.
When you watch someone performing, do you know what they are thinking, what they are feeling, and what their attitude is?
Like right now, I'm watching you perform. I don't know how you're thinking. Not
Exactly.
really.
You don't know what I'm thinking. You don't know what I'm feeling. You don't know what my attitude is.
Not really. I can guess, but I don't know.
Okay. I can tell you that I know enough about myself to know when I'm confident and when I'm not. I know enough about lots of athletes that I used to compete with when I could beat them, for example, if I had a race against them because of the way they used to respond to certain circumstances. I knew what they would say. I knew how they would react and their facial expressions and their body language and what it would tell me about them. I also knew some guys that used that the other way to fake me out. And they would respond one way and the whole time they were setting me up to beat me. So if we don't know what they're thinking and what they're feeling and what their attitude is, it's true that almost 100% of all people after the applause happens and they're finished. Maybe they've won the gold medal and they're standing on the podium and the national anthem is over. I know from talking to many athletes and many people that have succeeded, what were you thinking about at that moment? And I know this, it's surprising, but these are people that won a gold medal and they say, oh, this is what I could have done better. Or they go, oh, where did I make mistakes? Because I know there's more speed there. I know there's more.
Or, oh, what am I going to have for lunch? That's what I would be thinking if I was out there.
Well,
sorry. Okay, continue.
Help me. Just help me.
Never mind.
Help me get through this. Or the one that is most often said is, how am I going to repeat this and do it again? So isn't it funny that the highest point of achievement when a great actor or an actress or someone who's performing on Broadway or somebody that's just performed and finished a great piece of artwork steps off the stage of what they were doing and goes, I wonder if I can do this again. How am I going to do this again? Can I do it again? Will I do it again? And of course, the great ones soon discover that the work they do and the preparation that they do finally gets them there. So I want to take this a little bit further so that people really understand. And maybe I'm getting too technical. And if I am, just slow me down. Just say,
Jim, you're getting too technical.
You're getting too technical.
My brain is not that big.
I want you to think about this. Confidence, remember, is two words. The word con and fidence.
You con yourself into
right
believing. That's
but
what I remember.
Here's the interesting thing about the word con. What does the word con mean? We use terminology that in our lives every day where we con ourselves into doing something. We con somebody else into doing something. But it's the opposite of pro. We have pros and cons.
Okay.
And if I take a sheet of paper and I put a line down the middle and I put pros on this side, cons, I should do this, I shouldn't do this, I should buy this, I shouldn't buy this, and I make a list and I look at the whole thing and I go, oh, wow, pros outweigh the cons, I can do this. Well, just think about the way I said that. I'm instantly confident that I should do it.
Interesting. You're right.
But if I look at it and the cons are there, then what do I do?
If you just look at the cons, you only have the cons.
Let's say that you got 10 cons and 2 pros. What do? Immediately what people will do is go, well, I could always pay it off over 18 months.
Oh, I see. Rationalize it. You justify it.
I mean, I can put it on the credit card and promise myself that I'm going to stop going and getting a Starbucks every morning on the way to work. And I'll put that $8 that I spend at Starbucks for a week. That's $40, $40 a week. That gives me an extra $160, $200. I can make a payment. And we compromise rather than saying,
we compromise.
Hold it a second. We
wait, no, that's an M.
Instead of compromised. We compromised. You didn't get it the first time.
No, I didn't. Explain it again.
So when you look up the definition of con, it means that on this side, to believe in what was made, fidens, in the original Latin translation, it's to believe in what God has made, because at that time when they developed the word, that's where it came from. But we believe in what was made. I am who I say I am. I am a person that can bench press 225 because I did 100, 110, 140, 170, 180, 200, 215. I'm at 220. I'm going to try today. I've spent the last 6 months doing this. I'm going to do it.
I am a person that can do it.
I am who I say I am.
Right.
And this is what we have to do. This is where the work comes in. We have to overcome the cons. Now, the cons is something that is used as a ruse, usually deceptive to gain another person's confidence. We might lie to somebody to get them to like us.
Right.
We might say what we think they want to hear so that they will like us or let us on the team or let us be a participant. And we create our own problems. And we erode our confidence because we really aren't who we say we are. A con is an argument or evidence in opposition. A con is the negative position or one holding it as a negative position in your appraisal of pros and cons. We talked about that. It's a swindle. It's a manipulative sense. And we try to persuade and cajole ourselves into saying, I can do this. Until, and I'll give you an example, a personal example in my own life, when I got to Kitzbühel, when I got to the Hahnenkamm, the most terrifying downhill on the World Cup circuit in Austria.
In Austria, okay, I was about to say.
This is the one they call the Strife.
How old were you?
The first time I was there, I was 17.
Wow, okay.
And I get there, and there are 12 members of the Canadian team, and 2 guys at the bottom handed the skis to the coach and said, I'm not doing it. And then I was surprised to find out that on every team, there were guys that showed up with an injury all of a sudden, or suddenly had a pain in their ankle or their knee. And you know, they weren't ready to do it because they weren't foolish enough to go up there and try to run this downhill.
Was it icy or just scary?
It's just terrifying. It's like this all the time. And it's always off camber. So when you're making a turn this way, the hill leans this way. Oh. So you feel like you're trying to turn around the outside of an orange. You can imagine the centrifugal force. And you're trying to hang on, but you're on the outside of an orange and you're trying to turn. And then it has big jumps and I mean, there's just so much about it that was just terrifying. Well, you didn't do that unless you were ready to do it. You didn't do it unless your body was ready to do it.
Right.
And I did it, but I didn't do it very well the first time. But this is why confidence can be taught. This is why confidence can be learned. This is why somebody who wants to be confident can overcome the things that keep them from being confident. And it's really quite simple to fix. And you can become more confident because you overcome things that held you back and things that made you feel like you couldn't do it. And as a result, because you overcome them, you suddenly say, aha, I'm not just who I am, but I'm better than I was.
Mm.
And now I am a new person. I'm somebody new. I have become better than I was. Now, let me show you confidence in a child.
Okay.
And then let me bring you around to understand where we can think about this process of saying, is it really a myth that just being positive will make somebody confident? And it really is. You'll see it.
Okay.
So my granddaughter's 4. And she came over here every Tuesday night. They come over here. And last Tuesday they came over and they sat down and she looked at Grandma, my wife, and said, Grandma, I want to draw you. This is a 4-year-old.
Okay.
And so Grandma gets her a big sheet of foolscap, big sheet of paper, 24 by 28, gives her a whole stack of pens. She can do whatever colors, crayons, whatever she wants to do. She takes out one color, blue, and she starts drawing. And at one point, Grandma moved, and she went, no, Grandma, you have to sit like this and look at me.
Right.
And don't move. Don't go like this.
Don't
go like this. Just look at me. I'm painting you. Okay? Like she was dead serious. So Grandma sits there like this, and she draws. She paints. 10 minutes later, she went, nailed it. She's a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
I mean, where do they learn these things? Nailed it. Grandma got it right. Grandma understood that at that point, she's not going to say, you're a Picasso. You're a Monet.
Right.
Look at that.
Right.
Instead, she does what you do when you're trying to teach your child confidence so that they grow into it. So you learn to overcome what is down the road, what is going to challenge you when it comes time to go through the cloverleaf of life. I believe I am. No, I'm not. Oh, I got to change what I believe about myself. Why? Because I have to improve. And if I reconstruct and learn new things, I'm transformed and I can get back on that road of being an artist, if that's something that she chose to do. So Grandma comes over and says, tell me about the painting. She said, tell me about my smile. You drew a big smile on my face. Because you smile all the time, Grandma. You see, saw Grandma the way Grandma is. And she expresses it through, as poor as a painting it might have been.
Tim, be nice.
She expressed it properly.
Right.
And then she says, well, what about my hands? Why are my hands like this? And she says, oh, that's easy. You taught me how to fold sourdough bread and to punch it down and just fold it. And I don't know the terms because I don't make sourdough bread, but she said, you taught me how to pull and fold. And fold. And your hands make that, and I love your sourdough bread. Then she says, well, what about my arms? My arms are, they were way out of proportion, right? And she goes, oh, Grandma, that's easy because you always use your arms to make great food. And when we come every Tuesday night, we have great food. And she says, well, what about my glasses? Why did you put me with glasses? And she says, oh, that's easy, Grandma. She says, for some reason, every once in a while, you take a Kleenex out and you go like this and you dab your eyes because you have tears. And you wipe your tears away. And it's usually something that I made you smile about or made you laugh about. And she said, well, what are these lines on my face? And she goes, Grandma, those are wrinkles. Now, what I want you to understand, Cole, what I want you listeners to understand is if a 4-year-old can paint what they see and speak it, what kind of a relationship are you going to have with that person if you continue to do that in that way, where you actually, by asking about it, are avoiding saying, you're wonderful, you're marvelous, you're incredible, but instead you're challenging them to understand what they're thinking. And you're learning what they're thinking, and that opens the door because they feel confident to tell you. And let me show you the opposite of that and how we have it backwards. So I'm going to ask you another question, Cole.
Okay. I'm getting ready. I'm scared.
When is an artist most valuable?
I would consider myself an artist.
Okay. When are they most valuable?
Art when they're doing their artist things. So if they're painting or...
And does society back that up?
I don't know. Maybe no. I don't know. Maybe.
No.
It's like to an artist
because a Picasso today,
right,
is worth multi-millions.
Oh, you mean like in the time they're alive, kind of thing? Like in the moment, they're not.
I'm just
worth...
asking the question
right.
because you answered it, and you say what everybody says: the artist and his art is most valuable when he's dead. But think about it. If he's dead, he can't paint you another painting.
Right.
And so we valued the wrong thing. We valued the art before we valued the artist. And if we would value people, they would become greater artists. But if we don't value them and we judge them on the painting before, and we say, that's not art, or that's not very good art, or I'm not interested in that kind of art, which may be true. But what I'm saying is, culturally, we value a dead artist more than one that can paint us another painting. And we have become that way because of the way we think about what is valued and what isn't.
Wait a second, Jim. Are you saying you value me more if I was dead?
No.
That's what it sounds like. Or am I getting these wires mixed?
No, but what I am saying is there are lots of situations where children and people that are showing the best they can do are prejudged and determined that they'll never be any good at this, and they don't get a chance.
We look at their output first. We look at what they did first. We don't look at the person first.
They don't look at the person. We're so constructed in our culture that unless we see what we want to see, I don't want that guy. I don't want her. I don't want him. You never would have chose me. Cole, I didn't start skiing till I was 12. And I don't like to keep repeating and talking about myself, but I started skiing when I was 12. And everybody, every coach, every parent, every racer kept telling me, you'll never make it. You know, to the point that the Alberta team coach at that time said, I will never put you on the Alberta team as long as I'm coach, because there's no possible way you could develop a feel and a touch for the snow having started so late. And what he didn't see was, he didn't see what he saw. He didn't see what I saw. He couldn't understand that because he wasn't interested to know the value of it. I can give you another example of it. Picasso's on a train and he's riding with another guy in the first class cabin of a train in Spain. And this man looks at him and suddenly recognizes who it is. And he goes, hey, Senor Picasso, you're a great artist. And why is all your art, all your modern art, why is it so screwed up? Like you have people with funny faces and noses over here and ears over here. And so Picasso looked at him after he said this and he said, so what do you think reality looks like? And he says, oh, that's easy. And he reached in his pocket, took out his wallet, pulled out a photograph, and he says, here's a picture of my wife. Here, it's like this. This is my wife. And Picasso looks at it, and he thinks for a moment as he looks at the picture, and he goes, she's kind of small and kind of flat, isn't she?
It's not very nice.
And, you know, on a photograph, a person looks flat. There's no dimension. You can't tell how big they are, how small they are. You can't tell whether their head is big or small. You can't see those things. You don't see the real person. But Picasso painted what the person was. And when you look at his art, you have to know the story behind the story behind the story. to understand what he was painting. And of course, Picasso paintings are very valuable. Now, so you don't think that positive feedback is important. Positive feedback seems like the obvious thing to do, and we need to be praised while we're raising someone. While we're raising a child, they need to be praised.
Okay, wait, say it again. So wait, we're back to positive feedback.
Yeah.
Specifically. Okay.
I want to contrast it some more for you so to understand. So positive feedback needs to be, you need praising while you're raising a child. Because they don't know anything. They're learning and they're just developing. But if praising them is for something that they have done but don't deserve the praise, you're actually conning them into thinking that they're good at something. Do you understand what I'm saying?
So that's why you never tell me I'm doing a good job, because you would be conning me into not doing any of the work.
Exactly. Oh. And I love you so much that I would only tell you the truth. But there is a point to this, right. And that is this, is that learning how to say it properly.
Praise kind of thing.
Praise. Yeah. Instead of trying to con your child, will help them grow much more quickly and much faster, because they're not being judged for what they did. They're actually knowing that you hear their voice, what they're actually thinking, what they're actually saying. And that's why it's important to do what Grandma did with, where she said she wasn't interested in how good it was. She wanted to know what's behind. What does it see? And it gives her the confidence to feel like, as she often says, Mom, Dad, why is the food at Grandma's house always better than our own? Which is a little 4-year-old being very honest.
Right.
But making a point, because maybe her parents go home and try to make better food and didn't realize that that wasn't the point. You see why it's so important for every human being, when you communicate to another person, to constantly be throwing them a bouquet of opportunity to talk instead of judging them, instead of saying something that makes them respond with equal challenge. And as a result, they grow. You watch young hockey players today, they score a goal. I mean, the way they carry on after they score a goal, you'd think they just scored the winning goal in the Stanley Cup.
They're really confident.
You know, and
they got swagger. That's the word you'd use, right?
Where did they get that? Where did they get that swagger from? Where did they get it from? They got it from watching hockey players and NFL players and professional athletes. They watch them showing off. And what do we show? We don't show the goal. We show the bravado. And it's, you say, well, what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with doing the bravado. But the point is, we've made that the goal rather than scoring.
The celebration.
Do you see my point?
That's funny.
The loser, however, he thinks about it. And he does what the human brain can only do. It's the only thing the brain can do that nothing else can do. It can play, it can replay, and pre-play. It has the ability to replay what it just did. It has the ability to pre-play it before they do it. And it has the ability to actually play it the way it happened and the way they want it to happen. And as a result, they can change the way they do things. And that's the same activity that needs to take place in conning yourself to change a negative habit that stops you from being better than you were to being as good as you can be by pre-playing it, facing the truth that you didn't do it well, replaying it the way you want to do it, and then playing it again and again and again till it becomes your first response.
Right.
And, you know, the thing you notice is this, is that when you see a championship, you never see them the same way you see the loser.
Well, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Right. And it's okay for that. But when they do the research, what do they find? The winning team rarely ever points to that with victory again. All they do is jump right away to what are we going to do next year? and never look at what they actually did that they did right. Whereas the loser goes, what did we do wrong and what can we do? We lost.
Right.
And what do we do in society? We support what I said about the dead artist. We use this term, the GOAT. And we say, this guy was the GOAT. He was the greatest of all time.
Mm-hmm. Like you.
But that term, the GOAT, comes from the Old Testament.
Oh, does it?
And the goat was the one they sacrificed for all the sins of the people.
Is that really where it came from?
And they made the goat dripping in blood from the lamb and bathed it in blood and then took it out of the city and burned it.
Right.
To say that all the things we did wrong are now out there.
On that thing.
And we've kind of missed the point.
Right. With the greatest of all time.
The greatest of all time is, and if I say this guy's name, now you're maybe not old enough, but do you know who Steve Smith is?
No.
Steve Smith played for the Edmonton Oilers.
In the ancient era?
In the ancient era, in my era. And he shot a puck from behind his own net to clear the puck out, and they were going to beat the Calgary Flames. And he shot the puck, and it hit the goalie's leg and went in his own net. And if you see the video, if you look it up on YouTube, you will see his head go down. You'll see him realize the depth of what he just did because he lost the game and allowed Calgary to win the game in a crucial game, in a crucial situation. When you're overlooked and someone overlooks you. I had a young friend who was overlooked and underestimated. Bobby Basson. He went to the World Juniors, was the center for some of the greatest players, Gretzky included.
Yep.
Didn't get drafted. He was one of the leading players on the team, on Team Canada. He didn't know what he was going to do. He came home and I said, let's train. Let's go to work. This is back when I was still competing.
Right.
And so we went to work and we trained and trained. And he goes to the New York Islanders as a walk-on, gets a tryout. He played for 17 years in the NHL.
Wow.
And yet he was never drafted, overlooked, underestimated.
Crazy.
My point is, what's the myth? Only positive feedback builds confidence. How do we build confidence with a positive and negative approach? It starts with on purpose training, the internal training. It's listening to the heart of the person, of the child. It's listening with all that you have and then getting them to explain what it is that they want to do and how they want to do it. And then actually getting them to talk even more about what they can do about it. And then helping them do it. You don't just say to a kid, well, if you want to score more goals, go out and shoot more pucks.
Don't hit the goalie, just like hit the puck in the right spot, right?
I love to tell this story. When I would teach guys, I had certain drills they had to do. And one of the ones they had to do was shoot pucks. And I would give them 12 inches around the posts of the net. And I would say, put 100 pucks in. And then I'll take it down to 10 inches. And then I'll take it down to 8 inches and 6 inches and 4 inches.
Yeah, I think we talked about that last time too.
And what amazed me was very few guys ever got by the 8-inch level.
Like all the way down?
Nobody ever got to the bottom.
Right.
Nobody ever did 100 and then 100 and then 100 and then 100. Even over weeks. Because the minute it gets tough, you see them withdraw from trying.
Right.
Those that have confidence overcome that. And they push themselves through. So where does the positive feedback come in? It comes in after they've done the work. And at that point, you give them one-word focused words telling you what you want them to do, not what you don't want them to do. The biggest mistake I see made by coaches and parents is kids will make a mistake or they'll have a habit that they do the wrong thing. And the last thing someone will say to them is, whatever you do, don't. And then they repeat that. Don't do this. It's a classic story of the baseball pitcher. He's pitching. It's the bottom of the ninth. The bases are loaded. They're winning. But if this guy gets a hit, they can lose. And the manager comes out and he looks at him and he says, how you feeling? Good, coach. Good, manager. I'm good. You got this guy? Yeah, got him. And he says, okay, let's see you do it. And as he turns and walks away, he says, whatever you do, don't throw it high and outside because he'll knock it out of the park. Why is that important? Because our emotions latch on to the most dominant thought. And it was, don't throw it high and outside. Where does the pitcher throw it? High and outside, because his target changed. He knew he was going to throw it low and inside. But all of a sudden the manager says, don't throw it up and out.
No, that's what he's thinking about.
And now that's all he's thinking about. It's like I've said to you before in these podcasts. If I say don't think of the color pink, sorry, you can't think of any other color right now. This is why negative constructive coaching is way more valuable than the positive, but you still need the positive. And that's it for the jungle this week.
Wow. Give me some things to think about.
I will give you some things to think about.
We have some things to think about. Well, yes, thank you for listening. That was quite the adventure and all the stories. You have so many stories to tell. But guess what? Guess where they can hear about more stories from Jungle Jim? Guess where they can hear them, Jim? Tell the people. Where can they hear more stories about you?
If you want to know more, you can go to the extended material. You become a Patreon. When you join, every time we will answer your email. If you have a personal email and you want a question answered, you want to know something, and you will learn in the extended material how to take this a step further, how to take what we just said in every episode. You can go back and listen to them and listen to the extended material and learn more about how you can apply it to yourself. So become a Patreon.
Yes.
And if you want to be coached by me personally and be like Caleb Popko, who just finished second in the world. He's a Canadian Irish dancer.
It's crazy.
I can coach you personally.
Go to Patreon. You'll see it there.
Go to Patreon, sign up, let me know, and I'll be here to help you.
All right. See you next week, guys.
Thanks for listening. Look forward to talking to you about the next myth next week.